IVM.
Hello, Tash.
Good day, beautiful Ayushi. How are you?
I'm peachy keen.
Peachy keen. Okay, welcome back, our little peachy keen listeners. Listeners.
Welcome back to another episode on News Station.
Your favorite show, okay? Agla Station Adulthood.
And today we have a special guest with us.
Hello.
Ding, 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 ding. He said hello before the drum roll, but we have with us in the studio today the very, very intelligent, cool, inspiring, beautiful. These are the adjectives. Now I shall give the real information.
Oh, she left me with the
Factuals.
The dry part.
I mean, these are also facts only.
One second. We have Anish Gawande in the studio. I feel like that should be made clear.
Yeah.
And Anish is... You can say what you do.
I can also say,
yeah, please.
I'm the director of the Dara Shikoh Fellowship, a fun arts residency in Kashmir. And I created something fun called the Pink List, India's first list of LGBTQ-friendly politicians. LGBTQ
It's a short list?
Plus friendly. 72 people.
That's not
72.
bad.
You know, not bad. All candidates for the Lok Sabha elections.
I mean, we have a billion people, but 72.
But you know, politicians, we don't have so many.
Correct.
So
It's true.
out of those politicians contesting elections and of those 72, not bad. I mean, it's not great,
But it's good.
I think
It's
it's
a
great to
start.
even
Yeah.
have something together in place now. Just a list. I
Correct.
mean, it helps at least everyone knows
Okay,
what's
one second.
going on.
No.
Sorry.
We're sticking to structure, people.
Sorry,
Please, I
Ayushi
beg
can't
you.
handle this.
No, there's a reason that Anish is joining us today.
Right.
The main reason is because we decided that we don't have enough cathedralites in this room. So
Never enough
For
cathedral lights
reference,
in a
that's
room.
the school Ayushi and I and Anish went
exactly.
Yes.
We're keeping our guests also in-house.
to. Yes.
Budget mein fit ho gaya.
Yes, that because there is no budget. We had to use some, like, you're from school, I'm from school, same school.
Aa
Come.
jao.
However, the reason that we have Anish today, and he's going to help us navigate our topic for this week, which is...
LGBTQIA++.
Plus?
Many questions we have, and Anish is here to help us understand and be better allies, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this episode. We've wanted to do it for a really long time, and we were waiting for a very special person to help us and guide us through this, just this.
This magical journey towards becoming rainbow human beings and farting out like pride.
That's exactly what it is.
By the end of this, you will be certified allies.
Oh, I
with
really,
rainbow
really hope
stamps.
so.
Yay.
You will all have rainbow stamps.
Are you giving out rainbow stamps?
I have rainbow stamps coming out of my fingers, darling. I was born with them.
Honestly,
Just
I think...
like I was born with my sexuality.
Oh, you're jumping right
I love
into it. Let's do
This is
it.
why I love it. Puppies to you.
Oof.
I love it. Thank you for being direct and
Only
just like
on cheek,
diving right in.
Only on cheek.
Only on
Matlab
cheek
lips
with
are
consent.
reserved for
Yeah.
boys.
So Anish has
I've
made
been rejected. As usual.
has made it clear.
made
He's
it rather
not
clear.
into Dash.
No.
But I'm here for you.
Thank you, Ayushi. Thank you.
You know that.
I do.
We've made it so abundantly clear to our listeners just how obsessed we are.
It's more than a friendship, less than a marriage.
Oh.
Yes, and just in this
Live
week's...
in.
I wish it was.
Yeah, really, it would be fun.
But in this week's installment of Ayushi Talks About Her DMs, I got one last week which was you and Rytasha are just the best duo couple. And I was like, girl, I feel you.
Duo and couple, I
Duo
love
couple,
it.
I loved it. So,
We're a trio right now. Sorry, Anish.
You
Sorry.
know, it's
You're
fine.
not.
It's fine. I will be the head priest who will
This
get
is
the
the
two of
cult.
you married. This is the cult.
Oh.
I will get you married, and we will have a beautiful ceremony right here, right now. How fun!
I'm just not ready for this. I don't even have my lenses on.
Oh my
It's
god.
adulting, no? Agla Station adult.
Correct. Adulthood, not
Adulthood.
adulting.
No, sorry. I'm leaving.
It's okay, we make mistakes with our own names sometimes.
Actually, this show is about mistakes and owning them and exploring your journey as an adult. And I think a large part of that journey is exploring one's sexuality. You see how I slid that in
Very
also.
well done.
So
You swiggled.
I swiggled.
You swiggled.
I swiggled into it.
That's a joke for our regular listeners.
Call back again to another episode. Ayushi, बहुत callbacks हो गए. So
Because
anyway.
I'm just so excited that कुछ है call back करने को.
Yeah, good one. Very nice one. So yeah, I think you made me laugh and I forgot. We were talking about sexuality.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So we had a quick conversation before we started recording today, and I think that's a good place to pick it up. What I was talking to Anish about was that I'd really like to establish from the get-go of the episode that sexuality is a spectrum, right? And I would like to, I know about it mainly because I was, for a really long time when you started becoming aware that there are more sexual preferences than your own, to be like a responsible ally or an aware ally, you kind of read up about it and you find whatever literature or people that you can to learn from. And I liked the idea of sexuality being a spectrum to explain a lot of the preferences that I don't personally understand or relate to, right? Because there were things that I wasn't aware of and I didn't quite understand how that would work or why someone would make those choices. Of course, that's at a younger age, and I don't think there's any shame in saying that. Now my perspective and opinion is completely different because I have a better understanding of it. So, like, if you could give us a quick explanation of why it's a spectrum or what makes it this fluid kind of scene.
So I think what you said earlier was perfect, right? In that you're learning more, you're growing. And I think it's more a process of unlearning. I think there are a lot of biases that we pick up. So as we're going along, we're unlearning everything that society has taught us, because at the very core of it, right, it's none of your business to care about what somebody else's sexuality is. But society as a whole has made it like, oh my God, you have to come out, or we have to know what you like, or like,
and you have to legalize it in front of a court of law.
Correct. You have to legalize in court of law. So you've created all these structures that you need legalization, but you can make that gender neutral. But you have this general idea that, oh, do you like men or do you like women? You can't like both. So biphobia. And so a great way to understand sexuality is through a spectrum, which means that some people only like the same sex. Some people like the opposite sex. And some people sort of are in between, and you can like both sexes. You can have one sex that you're more attracted to, but that doesn't mean you're not completely attracted to the other sex. And it's something that you're born with, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason all of us love Lady Gaga, because she came up with Born This Way. And all of us just blare that at any pride party you go to. That is the first song that will come on.
Yeah, the very
Born This Way.
Specific songs
Very
that
much.
work.
Correct.
It's an anthem.
It's an
Yeah,
anthem.
it is.
Yeah.
So it's born this way, right? So you're born with your sexuality. I think it's not something you can change. It's something that you can sort of discover along the way.
Right.
I think for a lot of us, if we come out as gay, there are times when people realize that they're also attracted to women, and they come out as bi. I think it's a process of self-discovery. And I think that's the best way of understanding it. And for everything else, it's a process of unlearning that it doesn't need to be such a big deal. So it's mainly, you're born this way, it's on a spectrum, and it really shouldn't matter. Like, you don't go and tell somebody, like, तुम्हारे घर पे बिल्ली क्यों है, कुत्ता क्यों नहीं है? Like, I mean,
Oh, I like that.
like what? Who are you to tell me who I'm getting into my house?
But we love to invade every private
That's
space.
actually true.
Indians
Like,
love to know.
I just...
But it's not just Indian stash. Like, that's a generalized. I think everyone in general is up in everyone's business, like, world over.
Little more over here, I feel. Just everyone's involved. Like, family, relatives, samaj at large. Like, everyone just wants to know. And because romantic relationships and marriage is given so much importance in general, like partnerships of legal, like, marriage
I think it's
and
ethnic
stuff.
communities. Like, ethnic communities get into this a lot. India is, and when I say ethnic, I mean I'm making the distinction between, say, white versus every other color on that spectrum.
Okay.
Because I feel like I had a lot of black friends who, when I was at uni, and their social structures, whether they were Ghanaian or Kenyan or whatever, were similar. Of like everyone's up in everyone's business. They're all concerned. There's a certain same stigmas against homosexuality versus straight and generic marriages or whatever that is. And those kind of things reminded me of a lot of our Indian aunties, and because they also have the concept of, oh, auntie this, auntie that will say, and this person, and this one's dad is strict, and they're very Catholic, and they're very Christian, and because they have a lot of religious influences in their life, right? So I like to think that it's a very ethnic thing to be all up in everyone's business. I feel like a lot of white people don't understand that.
That's true.
That how you can get so involved. But yeah, you're right. It isn't, at its core, it's not anyone else's business.
Correct.
Right?
But can we talk about the spectrum itself?
Yeah.
So I think the spectrum, lot of alphabets.
Right.
So,
and I've always wanted to unpack that.
Correct. So I think the first thing is
do the letters,
LGBTQIA plus is the sort of general acronym that's being used. Queer being the sort of larger word that brings them all together, which is a reclaimed word, earlier used as an insult and taunt, now being used as a mark of pride. So yay, queer.
Yay!
So you have L for lesbian, women who like women. G for gay, homosexual men who like men.
He just pointed
I was like, hello. As if it wasn't clear enough.
That's just
I rejected
beautiful.
your kisses because I was born this way. B for bisexual, who is men or women who like men and women. T for trans folks who identify with a gender that they were not assigned at birth.
Okay.
And Q for queer, which is the larger umbrella term. I for intersex, which is sort of having two sets of genitalia or sort of having non-normative genitalia.
Okay.
And A for asexual, folks who are not sexually attracted to other people. They might be romantically attracted to others, but not sexually attracted to others. And then you have plus, there's poly, there's a bunch of identities over there, but essentially through the same idea, right? It's sexuality is based on who you are attracted to and who you are sort of can fall in love with. Gender, on the other hand, again, another spectrum.
Yeah.
So gender and sexuality, two spectrums that come together.
And I think people confuse these a lot.
Correct.
I think that's like it's the most normal misconception is that because you're a certain gender, your sexuality is going to be on that same platform.
Exactly.
Because that's the whole construct only, no?
Yeah, but I'm saying that was a concept that I also was learning about. Like I was telling you earlier, I have to sometimes remind myself that no, wait. Gender different from like the biology of it versus your choice of it versus what you identify as, all of those things. There's a lot to unpack there, definitely. And I think that's one thing that kind of terrifies the generation above us, is that they see it as this thing of like, we're trying to take down all the things that they know and change it completely and kind of disrupt entirely. And my thing is like, no, you're just adding definitions to it.
Correct.
That's kind of how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. But my thing is more like you're just expanding the definition of things.
I mean, listen, we've had so much patriarchy, time to burn the house down only.
Oh, straight.
If you want to burn down, sabhi jala do. Like, kyunki saas bhi kabhi bahuti style, like just roller coaster on roller coaster. But yeah, it's not, I mean, allowing people to identify with the gender that they identify with is not going to lead to some dramatic upheaval.
Of course not. But people don't understand, no, because they don't know any other way.
Correct.
Tradition and time and experience of society since time immemorial, I'd like to say.
Yes.
This is the structure कि आप शादी करो एक opposite sex वाले इंसान से और बच्चे पैदा करो.
Because there was, like, they saw it more as a biological need. Like as
attraction भूल जाओ, मतलब.
It was to procreate, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at a lot of like evolutionary arguments against certain life choices that people make, it comes down to the same thing, is that, it's a deviance only because they see it as like you can't reproduce, so that's not how biology made you, or this.
1.2 billion people.
All
I think
no.
people need to come out of the closet.
100%.
No. See, what I'm trying to say is
I
I
agree with you. I
disagree
agree
with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying more like their mentality is based on this, that you can't make babies, so why are you together?
Exactly.
Because the crux of that human unit, that family unit, was what? That you keep increasing your progeny, right? And you
Correct.
fulfill. We have done that too much.
But that's what I'm saying. Now, Modi ji is also telling us population control, stop having
This
babies.
is the best
So
way, I
just-
think.
We should just say that Modi ji supports homos.
Yeah, because
Modi ji doesn't want
he
us to have
understands the
babies.
population problem. Yes,
हाँ,
yes,
तो
yes.
population problem है तो no babies.
I agree with
Honestly,
you.
you could say that he supports anything. Like, he doesn't.
He's
like,
on Maun
he
Vrat
takes,
mode right
he takes
now.
no stand.
He's
so it's
on-
fine.
A silent supporter of
He's-
everything,
correct.
it seems.
Except his government, on the other hand, doesn't seem to understand.
There
gender and
seems to be
sexuality
another
much.
disconnect over there only. They are a spectrum of their own making. They're
Correct.
just sliding up and down, back and forth.
Correct.
Anyway, let's not get into that. It's more about, right, so you said it's a spectrum. There is a lot of fluidity. There's a lot to unpack. We said the letters. And I think we stopped at gender versus sexuality.
Correct.
Would you like to deconstruct that for us a little bit?
Yes. So I think this is a debate that's coming up a lot right now, right? We just saw the trans bill being passed in the Rajya Sabha yesterday.
Yeah, that bill. Today or
Yes.
yesterday? Oh, yesterday. Yeah, it was in the papers
and so
today, correct?
a lot of the protests that you saw were happening today. And the big problem that everybody had with this bill, amongst many others that we'll delve into a little later, is that this government failed to understand the difference between gender and sex.
Right.
So gender is the sort of male or female, boy or girl identity that you identify with yourself, and it's sort of an internal state of mind, and sex is something that's assigned to you at birth. So
Like your
simple example,
biology, like your biological parts.
correct.
is your
So like
sex.
you were the dog saw a baby with a penis, male saw something with a vagina, female. That's not necessarily how you identify once you are at a state where you understand yourself and your body better, right?
Right.
So you can identify as gender queer, which means that you don't necessarily fully identify with male or female. You can identify as gender fluid, which means that sometimes you feel more like a man, sometimes you feel more like a woman. Or you can identify as trans, which means that you were assigned male at birth, but you feel female, or you were assigned female at birth, but you feel male, right? There's also this concern that there's a separate sort of understanding of gender, which is when you have non-normative genitalia, right? Where you could have multiple genitalia that are of different sort of sexes. So sort of non-normative sex.
Right.
But it's that, right? Like, it's a complicated thing, but at the end of it, it's really easy. It's what the person wants to identify with.
Fair.
Which I just love.
हाँ, like बाकी सब कुछ होने दो. What I tell you, you believe.
Okay.
Like,
It's very personal and very like
Correct.
I get to decide how I feel. I get to decide who I'm interested in, and this is the biggest and oldest problem. Ki like we don't let people do that.
correct. It's like Indian uncle mentality. I know what is best for you.
Yeah, when in fact, wait a minute. I honestly doubt that.
It's,
Correct.
also what it comes down to, and I think from a more systematic problem, is that they truly see it on, and when I say they, I mean anyone who's not fully accepting of these choices, right? The choices that you make. It's more that they don't understand how it's going to fit in with their
Understanding
idea
of-
of what
yeah.
reality is. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you are a guy who identifies as a girl. They don't understand how that's going to fit in society. Like, wait, so how does that fit? Like, what bathroom are you going to use? Like, are you going to get married to a girl or a boy? When you have kids, will you be mom or dad? Like, when you go to work, what will you do? Like, as in, how is it going to fit in this structure that we've built and the society that exists? Their acceptance is more on that, like, oh, this is going to be an inconvenience to everyone, which means it's probably wrong because it's not done and it hasn't been out and open before. It's just a new advent, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean-
eventually the hope is that we'll get to that state where it's so normalized that you don't have to worry about it disrupting your society because it's a part of your society.
And I think most of the things that we need to do need to be disruptive, right? Like, for instance, for the longest time, women's pants didn't have pockets. Because
still
all the
don't.
people...
I'm wearing
Correct.
pants without pockets today and I'm
Correct.
upset.
Correct. See, Like, because some man has just been like, हाँ औरत का पैंट डिजाइन करना है, उसमें पॉकेट की क्या जरूरत है?
उनको तो हैंडबैग है ना.
हैंडबैग है ना, उनका हस्बैंड पति के पास वॉलेट होगा.
हाँ, इनके पास पैसे क्यों होंगे जेब में?
Correct. So,
You know, it's also because women prefer a tighter fit, so it's less material that's put on.
Who has said they should wear tighter fits?
I'm saying that was a choice
But
that a
it's
lot of
something-
females made to have less material on their
correct.
on their
But
pant.
now we've clearly established that a lot of women want pockets.
Yeah. I'm trying to say that, like, there are always... There are 10 reasons for a thing. Don't always jump to the reason that's like the most...
100%.
Like evocative of something. I also want pockets. None of my trousers have pockets. It's really annoying.
Correct.
But I'm saying that I know that when my trousers have pockets, it's really uncomfortable because it bunches out from everywhere.
You should, honey, talk to all the gay men in your life because you wear very skinny pants with pockets, and trust me, there's ways to prevent them from bunching. So, you know...
Oh, this is a conversation for later.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. For practical demonstration.
Oh, nice.
I think once we don't scandalize everybody else in this room.
That's fine. Deep is okay. He's used to us. Still no reaction.
No reaction.
So we can get back to... or do you want to take a quick break? And then we can get back into...
Yes.
We wanted to talk about the trans bill. We wanted to talk about...
Get into some more details.
A couple more things in the state of affairs in our country.
Great. So
Yes.
be right back, listeners.
Fantastic.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also want to remind you, please do fill out our listener survey. This is a really, really important thing for us right now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/survey. We ask you a few questions about who you are, what kind of podcast you like listening to, what do you think of things going on so far. So please do fill that out. It would help us. Also would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. We have Intel, Cambly, and Storytel. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Anup Vijay Kumar, a SEBI-registered investment advisor. He talks about the Warren Buffett investing strategy and stock markets. On The Scene and the Unseen, Amit is joined by author and columnist Sujata Anandan. She talks about the ups and downs of Maharashtra politics over the last 5 decades. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by business head of Gully Gang Entertainment Chaitanya Kataria. They discuss the rise of new age music. On Litnama, Lakshmi is in conversation with poet Jasmine Khurana. They discuss the trend of slam poetry. On Geek Fruit, Jishnu is joined by Siddhant Mehta and they do a roundup of the greatest hits and misses of 2019. On Simplified, Chuck and Shriketh simplify the impeachment process in the US and discuss the chances of Trump getting impeached. It's a crossover episode on the Empowering series. As Zarina is joined by Utsav Memoria, host of Postcards from Nowhere. They talk about slow traveling, places to visit in India and abroad, and how to travel on a tight budget. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav tells you how to travel safely to offbeat places with controversial histories and politics. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Welcome back.
To our second segment after the break.
And we hope you listen to all the shows that they were talking about in the break as well. They're all just fantastic, yaar.
We're in the studio with Anish Gawande today.
Hello.
And before the break, we said that, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick recap of the trans bill that was passed in the Rajya Sabha yesterday.
Yes.
And Anish is going to give us a little insight into where it's definitely failing, its shortcomings, which are numerous apparently. So over to you.
So 30-second spiel on the trans bill.
Yeah.
Trans bill is a bill that was introduced by the government to protect the rights of trans people, and this beautiful bill did not have any trans people writing it.
Yeah.
So
Shocking.
I mean, are we even surprised anymore? No. Naturally, when they introduced it in 2016, it was a disaster. And a lot of people protested against it, and they came back with a revised version in 2018. Now, this 2018 version, which has now become the 2019 version that is now just passed in both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, is a beautiful piece of work crafted by Shri Thanwar Chand Gehlot, our Social Justice and Empowerment Minister, which says 3 very difficult and problematic things. One is, if you are a trans person, you have to go and get a certificate to prove that you are trans. So if I tell you I am a man or I tell you I am a woman, I have to get a certificate to prove it. But only if I'm trans. If I look like a woman and I tell you I'm a woman, the government is okay. If I look like a man and tell you I'm a man, it's okay. So it's a very weird thing, wherein a lot of trans people don't necessarily pass for
a trans person.
For a trans person. So I mean, like, completely unfounded in law and very violative of any right that we've thought of, you know, like, what do you mean certify you're a trans person?
Like how do you do that?
Matlab chaddi utaro district magistrate ke samne.
What do they expect?
We don't know. So like a lot of Twitter people were like, we should go to the district magistrate and utaro his chaddi first to see whether he is man or woman, and then we can utaro our chaddi. So it's a very f***ed up provision when nobody knows that what the screening process involves, but
you think it's going
clear.
To come out, like eventually they're going to
they have to come out with rules, but the Supreme Court has been very clear on this. They've said that every individual has the right to self-identify with their gender,
right?
Which is the basic principle. I am what I am. Like, who are you to ask me?
Right.
Now the second very messy provision of this is that rape of a trans person, and this is really messed up, is punishable by a maximum of only 2 years in prison. Put that in perspective, rape of a woman in India has a minimum sentence of 7 years and maximum of life imprisonment.
Right.
So this bill is essentially legally making trans people second-class citizens and saying, rape karna hai na, to trans people ka rape karo. Because if you rape a woman, you might go to jail for life. If you rape a trans person, 2 years and you'll be out. Which is really, I don't know how you can even conceptualize something like this.
It's problematic on like many levels for so many communities, and it's just...
Correct. It makes no sense. Why would you do this? Just make that law gender neutral and say rape is rape.
And it's the same...
And it has the same punishment
for everyone.
Rape of it should be like men, women, trans, anyone. Like, and for minors, it should be across the board. It should be just straight life imprisonment, in my opinion. But whatever.
Correct, but whatever. Just make it gender neutral.
Yeah. Actually, what did I say? For everyone, it should be...
I mean, yes, I did.
First of all, it should be life imprisonment for everyone.
Ridiculous how this law was framed, right? And the third messy thing is that it makes no provisions to actually ensure that trans people are not discriminated against in employment, in jobs, in education. Which means that all this is nice and good on paper, but unless you have some sort of ways to ensure that folks who've been thrown out of their houses, which most people are, who've been going through a lot of mental distress and who have to pay shit ton for surgery, which is not subsidized under this bill because obviously...
That wasn't made clear, right? Like they said that there would be a lot of government provisions for like hormone therapy, laser therapy,
Correct.
And surgeries and like...
But none of this was put into the bill. So this was all said, you know, it's like a politician promising you something before an election. Kar denge. And all of these objections were raised, right? Only 7 people spoke in favor of the bill. Almost 25 people spoke against the bill in the Rajya Sabha. They just listened to them for 3 days and after all of that said, pass kar diya. Because they have the numbers. So it was something which at the fundamental level is messy because if you're making a bill for the trans community and the full bloody trans community is opposing it, then at least think.
Yeah.
You might be doing something wrong. And now that it's been passed by the Rajya Sabha, there have been protests across the board. There have been 2 in Delhi and Bangalore yesterday, 1 in Bombay today. And people are outraged in that what is going on. Like, this is going to literally lead to trans people committing suicide and sort of being under immense mental distress. And so this government sort of, and governments across the board, right, have failed to understand gender and sexuality. And what's really, really annoying now is that so far they could put that under the claim that something like Section 377 was something they didn't introduce. British law, Victorian law, colonial sort of hangover. This is something they're creating. So we had a regressive law, but at least we didn't create it under a democratic process. This is sort of a democratic law created by people we've elected that is going against the people it stands to represent. So it's a very worrying sign for all of us that what about laws being made for us that go against us?
But that's like, and I'm not trying to take away the power from what you're saying. That's like 100% true. It's just indicative of a lot of things in general, right? That there are many decisions that are being taken at a state and a central level that don't actually ever include the people that they're supposed to be working for. it's never like they raise MSPs for farmers, but it's not like the farmers actually getting the benefit of it. They redistribute food more towards the public distribution schemes, but it's not like it's actually going there because there are so many actual tactical problems they've not taken into account on the ground up level. Same way for the transport. If you speak to people on the ground and you understand what their grievances are, this could have been a lot better. You might have still made mistakes because it's going to happen. I don't think there's any legislature that in its first attempt is like 100%. But you would have had a more open process where you have a conversation like, okay, you've done this, now we can add an amendment. Maybe we can fix it this way. I just feel like from what you're saying, it's not even a conversation.
So they're not open to any kind of...
I think there's people who are not... I read some stuff that they're going to petition against it. And
so now it'll have to go to the Supreme Court and sort of court kacheri and then...
The Supreme Court's doing all the heavy lifting, dude. Currently.
So let's see where that goes. But that is the sort of protest against the trans bill and the sort of state of gender and sexuality in the country right now. And there's a real need, I think, for people to get more aware of this. I think the more people are aware, the more pressure that they can put on politicians. And the minute, right now, I think the problem is that most politicians are like, haha, who cares?
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
The minute you make it a pressure point upon which you base your vote, the minute you make these issues something that you hold your MP or your MLA or even your corporator accountable for and go up to them and be like, sure, we'll vote for you, but are you going to support XYZ? Which is the same way we sort of go up to them and say, do you support XYZ on a range of other fronts? Like, do you support women's rights or do you support XYZ? You have to make sort of queer rights part of that conversation. And only when you sort of manage to show them that you have the numbers, not just of LGBTQ plus people and queer folks, but also allies who sort of come together and create a massive impact where you're like 10% of the vote in this constituency will not come to you if you're not queer friendly. And if you don't stand with the community on this, they're going to really like shiver in their beds. Because honestly, 10%, massive number. Worked on political campaign before. You're wooing like, I'll give you an example, right? Like South Bombay, the sort of Tamilian population in South Bombay, Lok Sabha seat is around 3%. The amount of sort of niceties that have to be sent across and the amount of sort of smiles that have to be given and the amount of things that have to be accommodated and how you have to proclaim yourself to be pro the community is intense. Like you can't afford to piss them off.
And you think that because I think a fundamental pillar of politics in India is pandering, right?
Correct.
This is just so if politicians understand pandering, let's play their game. Pander to this community also. It's necessary. That's kind of, I think let's do that. It's like you pander to all minorities, religion, females. I can't believe that we are pandered to.
Just please pander to everyone.
No, pander
just
to them
be
also.
gracious enough.
You create sort of enough of a like pressure group and they'll have to listen.
Yeah.
So I think that is the
But that's
need
good.
of the hour.
I feel like people should read about these things. It's not just the economy. It's not just like unemployment. Or there are social issues that need the same amount of attention given to them.
Yeah.
And I think awareness is the first step, definitely.
But I'll also say, the best way to do this is to get more queer people into politics.
Oh, yeah.
But then
that would be amazing.
That's like something that has to come also I think now people from the queer community are going to be like, I have to get involved because this is the only way to legislate for me, myself and my community.
Correct.
I think for the longest time that was not even a thing that was happening.
I think there was a lot of stigma as well, right? I think because we've been able to use a lot of social capital that a lot of people have to make being a homophobe uncool.
Yeah.
I think it's been the single biggest step, right? Even with the pink list, what we were able to do is say that if you're a politician supporting LGBTQ plus rights, you're cool.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve like eyeballs in Delhi and Bombay. And so we took it the other way around. Like earlier it was like, oh my God, Rajnath Singh is a homophobe, ha 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 ha, blah, 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 blah. But that didn't work because he didn't care. But when we flipped it around and said, we're going to put you on this very cute looking list that's on Instagram, and you're going to get all of these eyeballs, and you're going to get covered in the BBC, and you're going to get covered in the New York Times, and you're going to be in the Times of India, and you're going to get recognized in like the snobby circles in Bombay and Delhi. That's an incentive, because remember, there's 545 MPs elected to Parliament. They have to stand out. They don't know how to stand out. It's like carving your own digital media presence. You have to carve your own personality also. And most of these people have been elected for like rubbish reasons. Like they've been elected because they got lucky, because they won a BJP ticket. Family. Their papa was someone big. They've gotten elected. Now they're there.
Now what?
Very nice that they got elected. But how do you reach a level where people in Bombay even know your name? So this is a super cool way for them to be like, and honestly, at this point, I don't even care if you actually support queer rights or not.
Yeah, just on paper and not for PR.
I want your freaking vote.
Yeah.
This is what I was actually going to say to you. I was like, I'm so glad that you, as a person, are okay with the fact that sometimes you just have to play the game. Don't get into this quagmire of like the morality of it. It's not worked. No. Not for women, not for you, not for anyone. It hasn't worked. I'm tired of this. And that's why I tell women all the time, play their game. Play their game,
Correct.
Be better at it, and win it that way. And then you do what you want once you're in the system.
Now I just need you to vote on these things.
Yeah.
Like I need to ensure that enough of these people are going to feel bad about this, and they're going to vote the way I want them to vote, and then you do what you want.
I don't care.
At your house, like I can't change you. Like sitting in Bombay, I'm not changing how you treat your family, your friends, your relatives, or whether you're an asshole in general. But when it comes down to it, you put your money where your mouth is, and now that it's become taboo for you to go against your previous record, you bloody put your vote where you said you'll put it.
Perfect. That's I
and
like
the other thing, and I think we're also coming towards the end, but so what I also wanted to really speak about is we get a lot of, the minute you start getting, and we've been seeing this with women, most importantly, right? Like the minute women entered politics, there was like shock. Like even Indira Gandhi, right? Like for a woman to be powerful, she was first called Gungi Gudiya. And then she like took everybody by their balls and said, you want to call me Gungi Gudiya? I'll show you how it's done.
And then she went
nutty. Exactly. She did go nutty. But the point was, she really like shook up the system. Like in many ways, politicians are the ones you look up to, and they're the most visible.
Yeah. She's a proper role model in terms of our struggle and our fight for equality. 100%.
Correct. She didn't do much for women's equality once she got to the position she got to. But,
nada.
But you know,
she experienced power as a woman, which not a lot of women get. Yeah.
And even sort of Mayawati, right? Sort of for a Dalit woman to get to the position where she's gotten, and to be like, screw you, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to have kids. And I'm going to wear a salwar kameez and not a sari in sort of rural UP is a massive thing.
And then she did the statue thing.
Correct. But I mean, who hasn't done Vallabhbhai Patel's 3,000 crore statues coming up? She spent 300 and created Sanya. But how many statues of women do we have?
No, she didn't put her own, so she's put all those elephants everywhere.
Kanshi Ram also she put. But she put her,
those elephants
her statue is the most prominent.
Hers is fine. Put yours now. I'm saying these elephants all across the city. Why?
But you know, you get a lot of queer people also, and this is where, you know, this general sort of unease with, oh my God, how can you do this, etc., gets put to ease. So I campaigned for the Lok Sabha elections all of last year, and it was very funny because I was like, chalo, like I'm going to be in rural Maharashtra, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I mean, I fart rainbows, like, you know, like what am I going to do? And
how do you be relatable to this society?
Or how do you not be out and like actually have some physical sort of threat to your safety and security there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so initially I was very much like, acha, okay, ha. And my Marathi makes me sound way straighter than like my English does. And so I was doing all of these cool things. And then I was like, chalo, let's do micro shocks. So then one day I was like in tight pants. And then I was like, okay, let's see the response. And then I was in like a little see-through kurta. And then I was like in my brown Oxfords and my leather bag and my colorful socks. And then it was hilarious. Because I'm sitting on stage and everybody around me is like white kurta, white pant, too big for their size, dirty rubber bata chappal, and like pot bellies. And I am sitting there in like a table tennis socks, which I'm wearing right now.
Oh, they're lovely.
Brown Oxfords, tight blue pants, and this nice, beautifully cut kurta. And this is in Patharadi in rural Maharashtra. And this entire audience, there's like 3,000 people assembled there. And I'm sitting on stage because I'm sort of part of the campaign. And they're stunned. They're like, shit. How do we process this? Like, ये क्या है?
इतना fashion हम कैसे झेले?
ये fashion है, पर ये मतलब बाबा लोग, बेबी लोग जैसा कपड़ा पहन रहा है. तो I feel like there was just real like curiosity. And there's also curiosity that's mixed with a sort of awe also, right? I'm on stage.
Right.
At a massive political rally.
Yeah.
With all of the people they're taught to look up to.
It normalizes it.
Correct. And there was this sudden thing of like, I can't be homophobic to you because you're in a position where I'm like...
Of power. Let's say it that way. Yeah.
So now I want to learn. And so I had a lot of fun people coming up to me and chilling with me and talking to me about sexuality. And they were like
amazing.
Very chill about it. Now, I don't know if they were going to be chill about it if their own kids came out to them. But maybe one of them out of the many that like spoke to me would have been like... Because a lot of the fear for parents is also, oh my God, if you come out, what will others say?
Right.
And so when they see that this person who's out is in a place where others are all accepting him,
right,
and he's sitting on stage with them and he's clearly doing well than all of their kids in the village have done, it puts it into a very different place. And a lot of our other queer icons have been in spaces, you know, like Bollywood, or not even Bollywood that much actually, but mainly in literature or art or sort of avant-garde cinema.
I was actually going to say Bollywood. I don't think there are those many allies or queer
no,
icons.
Especially queer people who've reached there, no? So that's
I mean, there's so many people who haven't come out. And then it's kind of like, that's such a tricky conversation anyway. I
exactly.
guess. Let's not.
But there's no role models to look up to, no?
Right.
Agreed,
I think now maybe business with someone like Parmeshani, with someone like Keshav Suri who runs the Lalit, there's people are looking up to being like, oh my God, that's okay. But that's still treated as very distant. That, okay, they're rich people in cities.
That's true.
I do think, however, like striking down like the laws, like decriminalizing it, a lot of people came out at that time and it made it kind of like... I think that was a good thing, and you're right. That's going to help the advent of having role models, of having more people in power, opening up to themselves. I also, in terms of in media, like I know this sounds like a very generic thing, but if you see the amount of people now working in startups and in the media culture and kind of with shows and like these streaming platforms and which are these cool Western employers, and they're very open and you can be who you are and you don't have to like curtail the way you dress or you look or you speak. Suddenly you're seeing a lot more people being who they are and themselves.
Absolutely.
And that eventually when they start reaching positions of power is going to be like, hey, the head of advertising at XYZ brand is gay.
Yeah.
Hey, that person who runs this company is trans. And I'm saying this is what I look forward to.
Yeah, This is the journey that lies
ahead. This is how it's going to
Yeah.
happen, because I'm saying this is how it was for women.
Exactly.
And I hate to put it in that thing of like, hey, we went first and now you guys come next, because I don't think we've made it very far.
I think, yeah.
So,
but the queer struggle is a feminist struggle. So I think
It
it's
is.
most definitely following in the footsteps,
Yes.
learning from mistakes and learning how to be intersectional.
That's what I was saying
while
before, right? Like, I think we
going
didn't
ahead.
even get it right.
Yeah.
And I see now the queer community as large, they're so good at mobilizing themselves, first of all. They're so good at getting angry at the right times. They're good at like demanding responsiveness and demanding activity from themselves, from the brethren, as well as from positions in power, I feel, which is something a lot of women just didn't do. Because either you were caught of like, you didn't realize that you had to do this, or it became about like, what I often do is like, I'm not interested in getting involved in this conversation. I just want to do my job and be taken seriously in that way, because that was a whole other way of doing it, you know, like play the game.
Yeah.
So I think that eventually the goal is that, I think what you're saying is right. Like when you see people in position of power, you're automatically, like you on stage is going to normalize it and be like, hey, being a certain way doesn't determine your success, your outcome in life. I think
Yeah.
people think that, oh, because you're like this, you're going to be a social pariah, you'll never make it in life. So if you see people making it in life, you're going to be like, I can be anything I
That's
want and
what.
still make
We
it.
need to see people in these
I think success is a
positions.
great
Yeah.
carrot stick situation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's call a spade. People are working towards X goal at the end of the day. We were talking about how we want to be big scamsters, not
Correct.
small time scamsters.
Correct. We said कि scam करना है तो 50 करोड़ का करो, 4 करोड़ का करोगे
नहीं
तो
करना है हमको. Like straight.
I like to get involved in this scam also.
Yes. I think 150 crores combined, and then maybe we have 3 brains on it, amplify करके 1000 तो हो जाएंगे.
Wow.
अभी
Because at that point, like we said, you've become an economy of your own, right? At the 1,000+ crore level, you've started gaining, and enough people depend on you for their employment and their bread and butter. So the government would be stupid to
Shut you down.
Shut you down.
Beautiful. I love it.
But yeah, I you're right about one thing, that the queer movement is a feminist movement. We are allies.
Oh yeah, we are the, like, I feel like women and the queer community, like, प्यार है, पुराना रिश्ता.
पुराना रिश्ता, सदियों का रिश्ता.
Like everybody gets it, right?
Like,
Like,
we're just
we don't understand for sure.
We totally get it.
Correct.
Once again, our issue is with males.
Not all, yeah, ठीक है.
हम
Like,
वही
of
कह
course.
रहे थे कि I was like, अगर if sexuality was a choice, you think I would have chosen to be with men? मतलब क्या?
Same.
Which is why I think
Same.
women get it most easy.
Swear.
We understand it the best.
Correct. कि हाँ बेटा, you must have been born this way क्योंकि
You wouldn't
choice
choose
होता
it.
तो तुम नहीं जाते.
No, I mean, who
मतलब
would
कौन
choose?
जाता?
Yeah.
कौन जाता बच्चे?
There
कौन
are days
जाता?
when I wish I was not heterosexual.
Correct. And I
There
wish
are days when I question, like, oh, this must be a born thing, because it's not a choice. Because I think if there were choices to be made, a lot of people would make a different one.
Correct.
Yeah, because even like just the dating world is all.
Yeah.
And imagine it would be so nice if you could diversify.
But this on the topic of dating, we don't have to end it. We have time. It's more like when I saw in a couple months ago, I used to be on a couple of dating apps, one, and I switched from Bumble to Hinge. Now I'm not on any. But I happened to see my friends.
कोई मिल गया.
No, कोई नहीं मिला.
कोई नहीं मिला. इसके लिए मैं निकल गई.
Oof.
I'm jaduing just by myself somewhere. I was saying more like when you saw the app from the female perspective. Like for me, I'm only seeing men, right? Like 'cause that was my preference. But when I saw it from the perspective of dudes, and I was looking at what the girls that they were seeing, I was just like, this is so much nicer. Some of these are so funny. They're so sweet. They're so nice. And I was looking, I was like, oh, it isn't a choice. It isn't.
Yeah.
Because if I had a choice, I'm not. Look, that's a very flippant thing to say, and I don't want to say it like
obviously.
that. It's a very base reaction to it. It's a joke, but there are many markers that prove to you that no, you are probably got to be born this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It isn't a choice. It is innate.
Yeah.
At some level, at all levels.
You want to tell us a little bit about dating in the queer world?
Oof. हम कहीं तो कहीं क्या करें
I
तो
know,
करें
it's
क्या?
interesting, na?
Oof. I think it's fun. I think in many ways, compared to a lot of straight people who have found on dating websites, etc., I think in the queer world, because the community is so small and there are such few people around, what really ends up happening is that dating websites also become into like fun social networking websites. Like,
yeah.
imagine like having the option of going on a date with somebody, not being sexually or romantically interested in them, and becoming friends.
Yeah.
Like, which has happened to me so many times.
That doesn't happen.
Exactly.
In the straight
because it's a
world.
much larger pool.
Yes.
So when you're sort of like in such a small pool, you're like, oh my god, I found one cool person like who's gay. Let me like cling
like
closer
become
to them.
friends with them.
Like at least let me be friends with them.
Because it's like having another like ally who gets
Correct,
it in your
correct,
real life.
Correct. Because I mean, for the longest time, right, even in a city like Bombay, I could count the gay people I knew on my fingers.
Oh no, same. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have any gay friends. I'm saying, oh god, I didn't have any gay friends till I went to college.
Yeah,
oh
same.
yeah, like
मतलब
school
मुंबई में
तो
तो-
school में तो नहीं.
School and it's
No,
yeah.
no.
weird time.
Yeah.
Look,
For people with sexuality, like
yeah, but
and
that's the
just
thing.
everyone.
Like, we don't have to hate on these
Yes,
phases
yes,
because
you're
I think
right,
there's a
you're
lot
right.
of people who, if you're not comfortable with coming out, you're not ready. You're not ready.
But the
no,
space
I'm
also
talking
needs
about
to
the
be
attitude of everyone around.
Oh, of
That's
course.
what
No,
I
I'll
mean.
give you a great example. So right now I just went back to school, right? And I think it was really interesting to see that they just started with the IB, right? So they've gotten the chance to do a lot more curricula, and
Yeah.
teachers can now give readings
Yeah.
of their own. Like ISC mein to you had to study what was given to you. ICSE syllabus, right? Now they're reading like black queer feminists,
Amazing.
and they're reading like very like incredible trans positive folks, and they're just really having conversations about sexuality in classrooms,
Which is something that we never
which
did.
we never did.
That's so true. Actually,
Because we used
yeah.
gay as a derogatory
Yeah.
term.
Which is what I had a problem with. But when you said this, I also remembered I went back to school recently for something. They called me and they were discussing sexuality, and it was awesome.
No, it's different. Like, my friends' younger brothers are in school, and she also says it a lot. She's like, yeah, but they're way more with it than we were.
Actually, they get to
And
be
it's
woke
happening.
earlier.
Correct.
That's it, because they have access to the internet, which we didn't really have in school that much.
Look, I still maintain that I'm glad I did not have access to the internet when I was younger, because I think there's a lot of detriments to it when you're growing up to have a lot of
Screen
access to this
time.
stuff, and just like screen time and how much you get absorbed into it. And we've talked about it many times that we're not. I liked that I lived in slightly the pre-internet. Not that we did, because we were still a Facebook generation.
we were the MSN, BBM people, but this is not that podcast.
This is
Yeah, but I'm
this
glad
is not
that there's
podcast
because you've done it.
Rytasha's like,
Yeah. Ayushi.
नहीं ये हो गया यहाँ खत्म तुम नहीं बोल सकते अब बस
But it's you can't, don't hit it. People get irritated.
oh shit okay
It makes the clapping sound.
oh no whoops.
But good. I'm glad that it's changing. The conversation is happening at an earlier age as
Exactly.
opposed to waiting till your 20s to talk about it.
Yeah, I love that.
Because you could be wasting so much of your time with the
Be
wrong person.
dating people in school, guys.
You could be.
It was very frustrating. Everybody was
Yeah.
dating each other 8th standard. I was like,
May I ask you when you knew?
oh my, I thought you were in 8th standard only.
Okay, so
But-
you've known
हाँ,
for a
but then I had a
minute.
girlfriend also for 2 years.
For 2 years.
मतलब on and off.
Nice.
हाँ, ऐसे मतलब वो desk बाजू बाजू
Got
में
it.
था तो.
Oh, it was like that. So
हाँ, it was
okay,
not a
fine.
girlfriend. It was.
A companion
A friend.
We went to the movies together and held hands once. That was 4th base. Her dad had a gun, so I was terrified. मैंने कहा, listen, पहले तो this is I don't know how to tell, but secondly, your dad has a gun. तो
Bye.
yeah, और PVR Phoenix अकेला थिएटर था उस टाइम पे,
Yeah.
तो it's not a very safe space or not a very private space because uncle aunties are usually sitting right behind you.
What I love is that when we talk about way back when, our thing is like PVR Phoenix was the only thing that
Which was like, whatever, 10, 12 years ago.
Can you imagine when we actually got older?
बचपन में मैं लिबर्टी सिनेमा जाती थी, रीगल जाती थी, मेट्रो, ईरोस, कहाँ फिल्में देखी है.
He's a baby.
He's a baby.
Sterling,
Dude, next to school we used to go all the
Sterling all
time.
the
with the
time.
takiyas because I used to be too short.
Oh no,
Oh, you
nobody
went
had
with
to
the
carry.
pillow?
Yeah, because they don't have like variegated seating, so it's all
It's
single
very
level.
I used to love the
seating,
popcorn
yeah.
in those theaters 100% more than what you get now.
You know, it was just like cheap and tasty.
It was just very high in salt.
Yeah,
That's what
and
it was.
freshly, hotly
Yeah.
prepared.
Just like I like my men,
Salty.
cheap and tasty and hotly prepared.
Oh dear. So if you're listening, you want to get in
If
touch
you're
with
listening,
Anish.
no darlings,
Slide into
I
his
wish you
DMs.
could slide into my DMs. Then
Yeah.
then we'll discuss further. Then you will have disappointment, but you can slide into my DM first.
This is great, because I'm the only one on the show who's like, guys, please DM me. And this is the...
Please DM me also, everyone. I like to receive
Also,
DMs.
by the way, we're all asking for very different DMs, right?
Yeah,
I know,
I just
want
feel like a
appreciation.
really different DM.
I'm just looking for friendship fans.
Fans. I want
That's
fans.
literally the That's the one line you use on a dating site when you know you're not looking for friendship.
Oh, really?
Looking for friendship.
Oh, I've never said that because anytime those questions come up of like, what are you looking for? I just blank it out. Like, why? You know what? Why should I say what I'm looking for?
Correct.
You don't get to ask me what my interests are. You don't get to know me at all.
My life, my rules.
Maybe that's why the success
100%.
rate on Hinge and Bumble
100%.
wasn't great. darling.
Ayushi का या थोड़ा है.
थोड़ा भी.
Yeah.
वो coaching
Apps
classes
के
देंगे.
साथ.
2 coaching classes है at the end of the show.
Imagine you going for
Listen,
dating app
excuse
coaching
me.
classes.
I'm a great flirter.
She is. Her banter's on point.
Just don't suffer no fools. You know?
Yeah. Which is how we should be. You know, Ayushi, your standards are high and that's great.
Anyway, we are going to wrap up, and I think let's do a quick recap. Is just you're born this way. Love who you love. You get to make that choice. Don't judge someone because of their choices. If you don't understand and accept anything, have a discussion. I don't think that there's anything wrong in going up to someone and saying, I don't understand your choices, but explain them to me. If you feel like you want to get that understanding.
We learn and unlearn together.
Yeah. Be open to unlearning and then relearning that. And if you still don't get it, then just STFU.
Then don't publicize your opinion. Just
keep it to yourself.
Quietly sit at home.
I've told you all many times, listeners, keep your opinions to yourself.
Thank you for listening, Anish. You beautiful, beautiful person. Thank you for joining us.
You gorgeous ladies.
And
This has been wonderful.
Do you want to say where they can follow you on your
can
various
follow
social
me
media?
on Twitter, Instagram. That's pretty much it. At Anish Gawande, ANISHGAWANDE. And follow the Pink List at Pink List India, also on Twitter and Instagram.
That's
and of
it.
course,
That's
these
good.
two lovely ladies.
Yes.
We to plug ourselves every
every
week.
वो तो हर बार चलेगा.
But if you
like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com.
You can also follow us on our social media. I am at AyushiA9 on Instagram and at Just Ayushi on Twitter.
And I am at Rytasha on Instagram. And you can also follow IVM Podcast on the social media, which is at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
And when you're listening, as always, please take a screenshot, tag us, tag IVM, tag whoever you want, and we will definitely repost because, like I've told you guys,
We are desperate.
I am
We
me.
love you. Like, share, subscribe, please.
Okay, bye!
Bye.
How many times have you caught yourself Googling stuff on health and wondering if it's the right information? How many times have you heard different health experts give opposing views, which has only left you confused? There are rising cases of cancer, heart, diabetes, stress, and autoimmune diseases. Meet the patients and the experts who paved the path of true healing. Join me, Rachna Chachi, cancer nutrition coach and nutritional therapist on Heal and Hearty. I take you through my own journey of recovery from an incurable disease and the journey of so many others who healed only via nutrition and holistic healing. Find the answers you seek for what's good for your health and what's good for your soul. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. Don't forget your date with good health.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!